skills to portray, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, for Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, it's focused on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information. Talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On Point. It is Sunday on the East Coast, 4 p.m. and wherever else you are. It is On Point. With me are my co-host Jimmy Eastman is here, the man from vacation. He was on a cruise, having a great time. He's returned. He's all right. And on my left is the guy with a sorry face. He's here to defend the administration. Government hard to defend, my friend. Here is Mr. Aliu Kamara. And on the other side of the world is another sorrowful face. He's an Arsenal fan. And today, Joseph Boykai and all the Arsenal people are crying. Mr. Aliu, I can see it in your face. You are crying. It's all right. You're going to try again next year. You couldn't steal this one. They beat you fair and square. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's a great show. We're going to be talking sports. We're going to be talking politics. We're going to be talking family. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On Point. And today, I'm always on point. Aliu Kamara is always off point. Seriously off point. Do us a favor. Share this show. Be interactive. You can call. You can write. We'll read your comments. We know who you are. Thank you for following us. Please share this show. Mr. Eastman, how are you doing? How's the nation's capital?
Well, Jerome, this is a great time to be alive. We look on the horizon to see our country's flag rising above the nations. We hope this is the beginning of a new Liberia that will treat people fairly and equally. So we look forward to it.
Great. Dr. Booty, you are in London, a sad place indeed. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good Sunday. We finally started to get some good weather in the UK. So it's been warm for the last couple of days, and it's not too good for us on the sports side of things. But we're here to, as Mr. Eastman said, and I also want to say welcome back, Mr. Eastman. We missed you while you were away. We're here to do our best to help the motherland become better and stronger. So thank you for having me.
Great. Mr. Aliu Kamara, you were in Virginia or Baltimore, wherever you are. Is it Baltimore?
All right, let me do my opening.
Are you in Baltimore? Because
you're in Philadelphia.
It looks like you're in Liberia. You still didn't like your background, look kind of fuzzy, just like your argument. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
I have a not so orthodox introduction today. I've been receiving some sorts of charges of being a message journalist, and the people who did it, a lot of them are, they watch Focus on Liberia very, very frequently. So I just wanted to make this clarification to them. I am a believer of the patriarchy. I stand for and I believe the patriarchy. I do not believe in equality between men and women. So as you watch, remember, Ali, you have said this openly now on Focus on Liberia, a very big platform. The toilet you sit on, we made it. The car you drive,
my
we
God.
made it. So the money you got in your purse right now, we made the money. So we are not equals. And I stand by that. I believe in that. Go back to the 1950s and the 1960s, you realize that the patriarchy kept the world together, and now the feminist movement have destroyed the world. Thank you.
Wow. Wow.
That's another show for another day. Alio Kamara got a very.
And by the way, that's my opinion. That doesn't represent Focus
We
on Liberia.
understand this. We know this. Everything we say here does not represent the views and policy of Focus on Liberia. It is strictly our opinion. As you can see, Mr. Aliu Kamara's inner circle getting smaller and smaller. You don't let Congo people, you don't let Basa, you don't let anybody who is not Muslim, now he let women, period. So, Mr. Kamara, I think your circle has been reduced from 8 billion to about 7.
I just speak the fact. That's Congo people are my people. They're not in such Congo. We just use it now just to provoke guys like Eastman.
Well, listen, Congo now they're not your people. Now we be now your people. Who you have now?
I didn't say that. I just said it's clear. It's clear. Naturally, we're not equal. That's a natural format. And I just stand by it. See, I don't go against them when they're feminists. I don't go at them when they're fighting men. When I say I believe in the patriarchy, then they can't fight me. What sense does that make?
Mr. Elvis, please rescue your brother. I'm sorry, you're not on the rescue team, but try rescue this rescuer, please.
No, just introduce yourself. Don't rescue me.
Thank you.
We'll rescue you because you're killing our women. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Gaiman, and hello to my fellow panelists. As a Chelsea fan, thank you to Manchester City. And maybe next year for the Arsenal fans, but thank God they're not winning one title in 20 years. They're winning that.
We've been hearing that for decades, every year.
Right. Every year, next year for the. Just so you know, on the show, me and Mr. Gaiman, we're both Chelsea fans. So the people who are Arsenal fans,
you guys are intent. You're intent. You're below all the useless things, and then you be talking.
Let me say this, Mr. Kamara, I must vehemently disagree with you.
You're fine.
I think physiologically, hold on now. How you tell me how to introduce myself? My introduction. This is it's part of my identity. Look, physiologically, of course, men and women are different, But in terms of our mental capacity, I think we're equal, and in some instances, women can be even brighter than men. So to say that, I disagree with you. I mean, traditionally we're a patriarchal, society, but our women have contributed a lot in the last few decades to the advancement of humankind. We must appreciate them for that. Let's not forget, last Sunday was Mother's Day, so kudos again to other mothers and other strong women out there. But I'm looking forward to the show today. Let's get it going.
No, but let me just get 10 seconds here because I think it's unfair, Mr. Morris, to go against someone's position.
The Arsenal fans and things like that. Everything is unfair.
That's his worldview. Thank you for joining the club, Mr. Gaiman. That's his worldview, and he's entitled to it. We can disagree. We can have different worldviews, but to disagree with his worldview, that's his worldview. That's how he sees it.
You see. Did you learn your shapes in college or in elementary school?
I can't see
they win nothing. They got 0 European championship. They win nothing.
Let me say what it said now. When elementary school, it said the different shape: pentagon, hexagon, octagon. Then when it comes to Arsenal, it said tatagon.
That's a good one. That's a good people.
You want to be in the conversation. You guys are not even near the conversation.
I mean, we won Champions League 2 years ago.
Mr. Kamara,
this season 2 years ago.
Mr. Kamara,
let's get to the show.
You are not into sports. You are not into anything. You are a miserable man. Ladies and gentlemen, and you are from New York.
And you don't like women on top of it.
Yeah, you don't like women, so you know you on your own. The New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers are fighting to play the Boston Celtics. This is a great game. We're going to talk sports a little bit. Mr. Eastman.
Yes, sir.
What is your pick in the East? We got Boston already waiting.
I'm New York. There's no even question about it. I'm all New York. I have forgotten about the Knicks because they hadn't won for so long. So but I'm all New Yorker. I love the Mets. I love the Giants. Those are my teams.
Okay.
So if the Knicks are playing, I definitely support the Knicks.
You see, it's good. It's good to be CEO. I'm in my office. I got my big screen here. I'm watching the score, watching the game.
Knicks are the Arsenal of basketball.
43 to 27. New York is down. Hopefully, they can come back and pull it off.
The Knicks are the Chelsea of basketball, not Arsenal.
No, the Knicks are the Arsenal of basketball.
Mr. Elvis Murray, the basketball team on the East Coast. Who do you pick?
Look, I want to go for the Pacers. I think the Pacers are a more complete team. They'll get the Celtics a good run for their money. But look, and you see why we're apprehensive about our Minnesota team. We won 2-1 up, and the ball came by and were leading us 3-2. Saying we plenty that live in Minnesota from Liberia. We always bring that deal well spirit to the people country. So I think tonight
we're gonna spoon today. Take 1 whole hour
tonight,
and not get to the top.
Tonight is game 7. I will not even watch that game. I like sleeping and wake up 11 o'clock and then spy and see what the score will be because I like to watch Minnesota play. We always lose when I watch them. So hopefully we can go to the conference championship.
What a result! Labra played today, right?
Listen, guys. I think Minnesota are gonna pull it off. I trust the young folks. Mr. Booty. In the East, if you follow the NBA in London, we have the East here. We got the Eastern Conference going on. Are you following basketball, or you are so dejected you don't want to talk sports?
No. I'm not following basketball simply because I'm not a fan. Football is my thing, and that's where I stay. I watch tennis, but yeah, basketball, no, I don't follow.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say. I want to extend our sympathy to President Joseph Boakai and Arsenal team. Hey.
Who play music?
Gentlemen, somebody got to be.
Mr. Ismail is a repentant Christian.
What I would be is a repentant Christian. How can you say repentant?
We want to send our sympathy to President Joseph Boakai and his Arsenal team. We want to send our sympathy to our learned Dr. Booty. Not everything you can win. In the West, you can't steal the thing. You can't kill your way to it. You got to beat them, and they beat you. So we're sorry for that. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a great day to talk politics. We got 3 major topics here, so we'll have enough time to talk, and then we'll have enough time to close. Because the last time we were talking, Mr. Aliu Kamara said we didn't give him enough time to close. So
when was that?
Today we are going to introduce 3 topics here. The first one will be, why did President Boakai go to Guinea-Bissau? And did you travel in a private jet or what? We want to know whether it was a private jet. This is a president who says private jet. It's a non-starter for leader when the people are dying, they are hungry, they're shooting fly, private jet. Number 2, violence break out in Montserrat suburb over land dispute. Land. I think Kamara has spoken on this thing maybe months and months back about the land dispute in our country. What are we doing about it? What challenges do we have? Is the Boakai government prepared to meet the challenge or enforcing the law and keeping peace in Liberia? Is this administration capable of keeping peace from day one? Number 3, unification day. Is Liberia really a divided nation? We have to be honest with ourselves here. Is there an effort to reunify the country? Should there be actually a reunification or unification? These are the issues we're going to talk about. Now, when we talk about things like unification or reunification, talking about land issues, we are going back way, way, way back. When we talked about, I think one time we were here and we talked about the errors of our past. One of the errors that we made, I think one of the lawyers talked about that was the error that we made to have dual legal system, where we had a tribal law and then we had a Western law in the same country. And we are finding out that in some instances, these two systems cannot coexist. There's always chaos. We're talking about the land issues. We are talking about the judicial system, where we understood at one time, I think a former CDC lawmaker was accused of raping a 30-year-old girl, pregnant girl. And then when they went to get him, he took the baby, took the mother, went into Nigeria in the Zoo bush, and the police said they couldn't go into the tribal society and all that. So he got away with murder. I would say murder. We are back to square one. Mr. Eastman,
Yeah.
let's start with number one. What does this thing about this private jet says about who we are, our integrity, our morality as a society?
Well, you know, that is an isolated incident, and I wouldn't be quick to render judgment simply because the chief executive rode a private jet. He was invited to Guinea-Bissau. Guinea-Bissau is known for its agriculture. When you Google Guinea-Bissau, you will hear about agriculture. And I can only hope that his flying to Guinea-Bissau will bring about some development for Liberia. Now, I do not see the flying of the private jet as a lure or a gift to tempt him into, doing something against Liberian interests. All right. If this had been an individual, it would have been a different thing. But this is a state and a country like ours. And so I would give him a pass. However, what is the real crucial issue here? The crucial issue, we do not have our own airline. We do not have our own plane. President Weah was criticized many times for reserving a private plane so he can get around. But we have seen now the kind of backlash Bwaka is getting simply because he used another country's plane. It's an inconvenience. It's an inconvenience not to have your own plane. But if you want to be fair, one of the reasons here is because we don't have the budget, we don't have the money. So we have to exercise some due restraint on how we spend money. And if the president is doing that to save Liberian people money, I think we need to honor him for that. Okay? And so what are Liberians saying? Should we spend $15 million a year on a plane? Or is it all right for him to ride commercial? We have to make up our mind what we think is more important. And until we become which way we want to go, do we want to do what's best for Liberia's economy, or do we want a flow show? Do we want to pretend that was something we're not? I think it's an important question for the Liberian people. I would love to have a referendum on that. Should the president ride a commercial plane, or should he engage a private plane to carry him around? Let's hear what the Liberian people would say. That's my position.
Great. Mr. Kamara, can you lift your camera? Your head is
I gotta put your phone so far that I can't see anybody on the screen. Listen. You okay now?
Now, woman, I shut up that phone. I shut it up. You
can see my leg good now?
Not only that, the last day man used to that phone they can put in their ear and turn.
Okay, let me tell you this. I listened to this whole airplane The whole airplane stuff.
Mr. Kamara.
Well, they come to
my
you,
comment.
Mr. Kamara.
Mr. Kamara. Mr.
Yeah,
Kamara.
go ahead.
You're not straighten your phone, but you didn't straighten your life, but it's all right. Now, Mr. Kamara, the reason we are having a backlash, and I talk about the morality issue and the transparency and accountability issue, is that President Walker made this a cardinal point in his campaign that while the country was in dire poverty, just the idea that the president is riding a private jet,
Right.
it was scorned that the people cannot be that poor. Even
Yeah.
if a friend, he said, President Weah said his friend gave him the plane.
Okay. Yeah,
now-
we heard all the stories back in the day. Yeah.
And now
Okay, well, thanks for the question.
go ahead.
Are you finished?
Why you make every model upside down too now? Because you say you upside
That
down.
was you upside down, man.
Go ahead, Kamara.
Am I good now?
You know,
Yeah.
Good.
you know, they got to go upside down. You can't wear a mug. But here is the thing, though. You know, I like you. You're very entertaining, but some people can take you too seriously. I saw a post, somebody comment just now about this whole woman thing. Please tell them when you finish, let them know that I was raised by all women. I love women. I just have a certain stand.
That's why you hate them. Because
Well, no, they believe you that here with me. I was raised mostly by women, but the day I had the opportunity to live with my uncles, I knew the difference between the woman and the man. It's not the same. But here's
Kamara.
let me make my point on this issue.
That made a fat little girl whoop the crap out of you when you were young.
And I love that, so dearly. That's why I protect them. But here is what I have to say about this whole thing. Mr. Eastman, you know, when we keep mixing apples and oranges just to make our political points, sometimes it's not fair to the audience. Georgia had a private plane. Joseph Boakai does not. So to be making this comparison, I don't think it's fair. Somebody call you and say, "Oh, come to so and so. I will send you my plane." Then I said, "No, don't give me your plane. I will sit down in the terminal and wait for 2 hours to wait for a plane." I mean, who does that? The message I will bring you to my country. I will carry you back. All the expenses on me. Should I say no? So I think Joseph Boakai did the right thing. He has not spent $1 on any private plane. That should be the difference between Joseph Boakai and George Weah. Not $1. He went to Ghana on Ghana expense. He went over there the day before yesterday on their expense. So what's the issue here? That's what I want to know.
Great. Mr. Booty,
Yeah, but wait. But he mentioned, but the idea is, look, the idea was that he did not spend government money. He rode a commercial plane. He rode a country's plane, and I commended him for that, for saving. I don't understand your point where you're talking about comparing.
No. I wasn't attacking you because we technically said the same thing. I wasn't attacking you.
Okay.
I was just trying to say something.
Dr. Booty, here is the conundrum for Joseph Boakai. Joseph Boakai says one of his pillars was that he had been in government for over 50 years, a lot of experience. He's a law and order guy. He believes in accountability and transparency. I think Mr. Jimmy Eastman here is being too soft because he knows right from wrong. If an invitation were extended to Joseph Boakai, it should be transparent. We should see what that transportation is. If he were going to a meeting, he was invited for a meeting. We will find out what that meeting was all about. There will be transcript of that meeting. We'll look at the outcome. Today, Joseph Boakai and his entourage or whoever went with him said they went to Guinea-Bissau. We have no evidence that they actually went to Guinea-Bissau. There were no press secretary. There were no reception at the airport. We had no, unless maybe you guys have seen it. There's nothing to prove that he went to Guinea-Bissau. But why did he go to Guinea-Bissau? Is there any press releases? There were press conferences between the two presidents showing that it's a bilateral agreement. Are there any MOU signed? Nothing. We saw absolutely nothing. And then when you look at the World Book from the U.S. Department, Guinea-Bissau is one of 10 poorest countries. Liberia is one of those 10. They are known for narcotics. So how can you tell me a man who is as poor, in fact, poorer than you, who is selling drugs, is not going to help you do your agriculture? Talk to me, Doc.
Well, I think that there are a few things we need to address, right? I think first of all, one of the things about politics is it's a lot about optics, right? It's about what people see. And when the president comes out and say that flying private jet is wrong, right? Then you can't do it, even if it's free. You can't do it because it will look bad, right? Because politics is about optics, right? And people looking on, like I was just reading the front page Africa, and a lot of people who are commenting in there saying, look, this is not right. The president is misleading the people. He's not treating people fair and da 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 da. And it's just because it looks bad. And normally that's how politics works. Now, to the point that Mr. Aliyu Kamara made, that, oh, president, we are hired private jet. That wasn't my understanding. Someone gave him the jet to use free of charge. So if the argument is that, oh, well, Barca didn't pay for the jet. Let me finish. I didn't
not
interrupt.
hired. I'm just correcting you.
Sorry, you said what?
Had, not hired. He had.
Well, he didn't have it, right? He didn't have it either because it was lent to him, right? So it wasn't his to have, right? So whether it's hire or have, it wouldn't change the situation. The fact is, somebody gave it to him. He didn't spend money on it. So if the argument is, well, Bwaka didn't spend money, so it's okay, then Bwaka shouldn't have said anything about George Weah using a private plane because he didn't spend money on it too, right? Now, to your point, Mr. Gayman, Mr. Kamara, stop interrupting me today. I beg you. To your question, Mr. Gayman, look, I'm 100% with you. I think this president, in my opinion, hasn't demonstrated any level of acceptable accountability and transparency. I think flying anywhere without his press secretary is wrong, right? Because we, the Liberian people, are supposed to know where the president is, why he's there, what he's doing, who he's meeting, what he expects to get by going to that place. Now, like you said, before you even asked me the question, that's one of the things that I was trying to run through my head. Guinea-Bissau. What do they can offer us? Guinea-Bissau. And I can't come up with anything. Now, I might be wrong because I've not done enough research, but I can't come up with anything off the top of my head that, going to Guinea-Bissau will help us with. Now, if you want to invest in the agriculture sector, if you want to expand our agriculture sector, you want expertise, go to Morocco, right? They have a thriving agriculture sector, and they will give us better, capacity development than Guinea-Bissau. I don't know Guinea-Bissau to be a country that produces a lot of agricultural produce, right? So, no, I think let's give him a couple of days, if I'm being generous. Let's see whether the press release will come out late, and then we can see. But I don't think the trip, was warranted. And this whole private jet thing, I think it just stinks of him again going back on one of his promises that he made to the Liberian people.
Mr. Elvis Morris, I know you are a patriarch and you bend backward to at least to accommodate, but some of this stuff are so glaring that it is not only glaring, but it's illegal. And for the president, no, I'm not saying anything. This is not Ijuando. We read it here. The code of conduct says that no government official should accept any gift over $200. That's illegal. That's illegality.
All right, Mr. Gabriel, let me come here, please. I would agree with Dr. Booty on this one. And I just want to ask Mr. Kamara, why are you laughing? Because the man said can't. You're using a British accent when you say can't.
Yeah, you got it right. You can't do that.
We have a little put on the Booty.
Dr. Booty, I told you not to taunt Kamara a Freetown accent. And I've been telling you, don't taunt
But how can only Morris knew why I was laughing? Even Booty didn't know why I was laughing.
Please,
We sharp. But let me get back.
Kamara of Seven accent, please go ahead.
Let me get back to my point. Look, if you know a little history about Guinea-Bissau, I think Guinea-Bissau is a Spanish or Portuguese-speaking country.
Yes.
They have a very close relationship, and a lot of immigrants or visitors from Brazil. During that $100 million drug case, one of the defendant in that case was Guinea-Bissau. I don't know how you call him, Guinea-Bissau, of a citizen of Guinea-Bissau. And Guinea-Bissau is a transitory port for drug trafficking from Mexico. The Sinaloa cartel used it as a transitory point into the Iberian Peninsula, places like Spain and Portugal and so forth. So that country is notorious for drug trafficking. That's why I find it conspicuous that our president, all the other African engagement that he could have, engaged in, will go to Guinea-Bissau. And also, the government in Guinea-Bissau is almost a quasi-narco government, where you have well-known drug dealer working hand in hand with the government of that country. So if you read up, yeah, if you read up on Guinea-Bissau a little bit, you'll understand that it's slowly turning into a narco state. So for our president to make that a priority to go visit them is pernicious, to say the least. So for me, like Mr. Dr. Booty was saying, the optics does not look good. The Guinea-Bissau is on the watch list. That's why you saw that drug that got $100 million drug. The intel most likely came from the route from Guinea-Bissau because the United States government is watching it very closely. So anything that is done there is being very closely monitored. So for me, I don't know why he didn't go to, a big country like Nigeria, an official visit to Ghana, even though he went there overnight, came out the next morning. We want to see our historical partners, being, the relationship being massaged a little more, rather than going to a country that we don't even share the same language. We haven't have a close historical relationship, and then their current state in the war, on the war stage is very bad. So I don't understand it. Optically, I don't understand it. But again, people are saying you went there for agriculture, engagement or something laughable to that extent. But for me, I think it was a bad move. You have to distance yourself from people. Let's say show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. If you see a friend that has a bad reputation and you want to be close with them, what do you guys have in common? What common interest do you guys have that you want to build such a close relationship with a person who is an international pariah, especially when it comes to drug trafficking? So for me, I don't understand it. I think it was a bad move. And like you're right, Mr. Gayman, this is something that maybe the legislature can clarify, maybe the Supreme Court can clarify. Maybe the president is exempt from the emolument clause, about taking gift or receiving gifts in terms of, in kind, like somebody paying for your expense to go on a boat, like we saw with Clarence, Clarence Thomas in this country, who went on vacation on private yachts and other places, even though they're not giving you physical cash, but you're enjoying their largesse.
Can I interrupt 1 minute?
And that should be legal, from our code of conduct. So maybe the president is in violation of the code of conduct. We need lawyers to interpret it. But go ahead, Mr. Kamara.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for taking a break. Let us, Dr. Bully, you the doctor here. Please let us define lend and give. Let us find. No, I don't know it. I don't know it. Lend and gift. I want you guys to please tell me the definition.
Yeah, lend is something that somebody gave you with expectation of it being returned. A gift is something that is given to you without any string attached as a personal property.
Listen.
No, he gave him the itinerary to go and to come back. A plane ticket is a gift.
That's not wasting our time.
Mr. Morris, when even someone lend you a plane, there's a cost associated with running that plane.
Of course.
That cost is equivalent to what we are talking about. We see.
So the cost the man bought a plane for that. I say cost that. God, I see money, right?
Listen, we are talking about.
Argument there?
No, the fuel that they're using to fly him there, that's a gift.
Yeah,
the pop,
gift for Joseph Burger.
Yeah, it's a gift to him. He's not paying it back. He's not paying it back.
I didn't know all that.
Okay. Now, Mr. Eastman.
Yeah, deflecting, Mr. Kamara.
Mr. Eastman in the United States, I think Mr. Elvis Murphy put it finally when we saw there's a brouhaha in the country here at the congressional level where Clarence Thomas and even the Chief Justice Alito, they received gifts from special interests. And the folks are saying,
The Google gotta put your camera on, please.
Yeah, you gotta put your camera on.
Yeah, that's my business. That's my business. My brother King on here. I can guarantee you.
So, listen, what the old Bassa chief would say, they said, Mr. Not Raccoon, yeah, Raccoon and those guys was trying to went to a party. And they got to this party, the party was geeking, everybody having fun. So when Mr. Skunk came in with his black, he and the other guy came in, he got up in the middle of the party and said, all the ugly people in here, you need to get out. Baboon got up and said, my man, why are you talking to me like that? So Skunk said, but I didn't
Yeah,
call
we know I was there with the ugly people.
I didn't call anybody name. Mr. Kamara, I didn't call your name. The man camera shot just show up and you say he coming here for me. How you know he coming for
I
Elvin?
know the man.
He coming for Mr. Booty. But Mr. Eastman, in Liberia we have the tired phrase. Tired, but everybody uses it. What they say? Anybody who come with clean hands or someone who preaches equity might come with clean hands. If you are saying, like Dr. Boyka or Joseph Boyka, he doctor now because UMU went to UMU and they confirmed a doctorate degree on him, just like he said what it did to.
It took you 4 minutes asking one question, right?
Listen, when Joe Weah became president, he went to AME Zion. They conferred a PhD on him, and the whole country. Joseph Boyka and his team were saying that is cowardice. He's not this. When Joseph Boyka became president, the first thing he did went to United University.
That one part of the topic.
Went to United Methodist University, and now he is Dr. Boyka. He got a PhD conferred. So this is the double speak we are talking about. When you say I have 50 years of experience, this is not how government works. When I come back to government, it's going to be accountability, rule and order, law and order, all of those things. And the president goes on presidential trips. No press secretary, no press release, no press conferences. He just goes and comes by. He went to Ghana. He said the Ghanaian president sent a helicopter for him. He was going to meet with the Ghanaian president. It turned out the Ghanaian president was not even in the country. He came to the United States. We didn't see him being received by the United States government. But the Liberian community of East
Mr. Gilbert, let me say this to you.
Mr. Eastman,
can you stop interrupting the host?
Mr. Eastman,
If I don't do that, you will not talk
with
today.
double talk with this administration.
If I don't do that, you will not talk today, buddy.
Okay.
It had to this man. So what is this about this double talk? Riding plane was wrong. He's rising. Going to places he said he would be accountability, transparency, nothing.
Okay. I guess Mr. Gonglo will soon be joined.
What hold on, Mr. Cooley? Why you put your camera on when you're not there?
Don't worry about Gonglo. Gonglo got his backdrop. Go ahead, Mr. Eastman.
I'm just not.
I think we need to be.
Nima got bad reception. Go ahead.
I think we need to be more concerned over the fact that the president leaves the country and we don't know why. That is a concerning thing there. I'm not too much concerned about the airplane business right now, but the fact that our president, this is a matter that the executive on the legislature should be taking up. We should know what was the purpose of his visit. Why did he go? He's no longer a private citizen. Anything he does reflects on us, and we have the right to know why our president would visit another country. What did he achieve and all of that? And if this can't be, if we're going to start losing transparency at this early stage of the administration, I think we're going to be disappointed in a lot of things. There's nothing wrong with his going, but why don't we know why he went? Why don't we know the purpose of the visit? Why is it all in the dark? I think this has to be frowned upon, and they need to call him on it, and so he won't do it again. That's where I am on that.
Mr. Kamara?
Yes, sir.
Transparency is one of the pillars of the past election. In fact, part of the pillars of the rescue mission. What is going on? Why, when the president is leaving, we don't see any press conferences at the airport when he arrived? We don't see any press conferences. We don't see him with the other president discussing bilateral, trilateral issues. He sneaks out of the country, sneaks back in. Nobody knows what's happening. Mr. Kamal, you are very strong. Accountability. What's going on here?
Yeah. You think you're sucking me in, but the thing is this. The thing is, actually, this was a part of the conversation that Mr. Ismail had redirected this thing. This is where it could have been tough for Joseph Burger or anybody defending Joseph Burger. This is the area. The whole thing about fuel and plane, that was a waste of time. But listen, I have some concerns about it. The only reason I don't strike on it too much is because we know him. We will know him as his individual. We know it. He's a quiet guy. But he has to understand at some point that he has to fight his personality in realization that he's now president. He has to fight his personality. He's not doing anything deviant, but optics, matters, like Dr. Budi said. He's not doing anything on purpose just to ignore people. No. As far as he's done, is follow the process. One, send a paper to the House, to the Speaker, letting them know, that you're going out of the country and for so time you'll be back to stand. That's what he did. But the people don't know the law like he does. Therefore, he has to meet the people where they are. I think it's only fair not to make some pronouncement instead of just following the process undercover and just move. But I think I have a little concern about that too.
Let me come in here quickly. Yeah, this 10 seconds, right? Because that is a baseless defense of this president, right? Very, very baseless. Because the president just went to Texas, right? And he told people where he was going. So it's less than a week. He just did it less than a week ago, right? So how is it that yesterday you did it, now you forget already that you're supposed to do it? So there is definitely something nefarious here that we should be concerned about. I do agree with Mr. Kamara that this is the bigger fish that we need to be frying. However, the plane thing is still something we can talk about because at the end of the day, it's still part of the update, right?
Well, for me, the law is the law. If the law says you cannot take anything or accept anything like just over 200, you have broken the law, you have violated the law. And the commander-in-chief violating the law is bad.
You have to prove
it's terrible.
Can you prove it? You prove that he took money. How much did he take?
We didn't say money.
Receiving the flight is a gift. It has a monetary. It has a monetary value.
Yeah, what's the monetary value of receiving that flight?
The gentleman doesn't understand. I won't go
because
there.
You got to carry that one in court too. What's the monetary value of receiving that?
It's very difficult to explain it. But let's move on here. We'll come back to that later on. We are talking
about Jerome, can I make a comment? I know my picture is not showing. I actually just log on you.
We want Spirit and to be speaking today.
Yeah, where it goes, we know where it goes coming from.
He's afraid of camera. He don't want to show his face. Go ahead.
So as far as I know, I don't want to be boastful, but the Gonglo family are very bold people, very courageous people. So we are very fearless, and I think people know my family name for that. So, but I'm gonna go back downstairs to my desktop to log in. I'm up here with my little special needs child. That's why I'm struggling. This laptop, I don't normally use it, so I'm just logging on it for the first time for this show. So that's why I'm struggling. And the camera is blocking me. I don't know why. I've restarted it twice. It's still not working.
You have to give permission to the camera.
Come on, this.
Yeah.
I think you should go ahead, Mr. Gonglo. I think we understand. Yeah.
We can understand. Go ahead. You know how to use the camera. We usually.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Are you hearing me? Okay.
Yeah.
So on the trip to Guinea-Bissau, I think there is a bigger picture here, much more than even just making a pronouncement. One big picture is, President Bouakai has his supporters saw him as a 42-year experienced person that was coming with regional connection and what have you to make things happen. So here is a 43. Is that the guy in Senegal? How old is he? 43 years old or 38 years old? The Senegal president, Faye.
Yes.
Faye is receiving President Paul Kagame in Dakar on a state visit. Look at that picture. Paul Kagame of Rwanda is one of the democratic countries in Africa. It's one of the fastest growing countries in Africa. Is one of the country is one of the country promoting transparency in public service. So then you have our president going to Guinea-Bissau. Guinea-Bissau, read the history of Guinea-Bissau. In fact, Guinea-Bissau is on level 3 caution level with the State Department, warning Americans not to go there because it's so violent, it's so dictatorial, and that's the place, it's so corrupt. That's the place our newly 42 years experience in public service president would choose to visit.
Mr. Gibbon, let me come in. Let me come in, please.
He'll be going to Colombia soon, by the way. So
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just disagree with Mr. Gonglo respectfully. You know, I have a lot of respect for him. Rwanda is not a quote unquote democratic country. That's why I was laughing, because it's a dictator. Like some people like to call it a benevolent dictatorship. Kagame has been in power and has suppressed all of his opposition. That is not a democracy as we know it.
Morris,
That is not true. That is not true. It is a democracy.
Morris, I agree with you to disagree with me, and I respect your disagreement. All I'm saying is sometimes what is not said is important. The Bwaka economy is struggling. I suspect he probably went there because of the IMF program. They can't just borrow. He probably went to a very corrupt dictator, a one-man show country, to take some money from there quietly and come and start paying civil servants, start doing other things. So when they come, maybe start to rebound, he can pay by that Guinea-Bissau. That's my interpretation. And
just to buttress you, just for a little bit of fun. Maybe these are the people that came and wanted to buy the Rodogisi Mountain. So now he's going there to renegotiate. Maybe the price will go up since he's after the president now.
Let's refine the show.
But look, let me get my chance to get my last chance on this thing before we go. Like everybody is saying, Mr. President made it very clear when he was coming to the United States, right? Even though it was for a low-level meeting, he made it very clear when he was going to Ivory Coast, took pictures and everything. He didn't make it very clear going to Ghana. He didn't make it very clear going to Guinea-Bissau. So why did he not make it very clear going to these countries?
He used taxpayer money to go to America. He used taxpayer money to go to Ivory Coast. He did not use taxpayer money to go to Ghana.
He is the president of Liberia. How he traveled is irrelevant.
Right. We are not. Hold on now, Mr. Kamara, please.
In this discussion.
No.
You're wasting our time. Go ahead.
During the elections, you said a lot of things. He was a private citizen, which again you were right. But right now he belongs to the country as a whole. And we're not a begging country where we as a nation can afford to pay for the itineraries of our president to travel to different countries in the sub-region. No, we can do that. We can afford it. So we're not begging anybody to send us helicopters or send us private jet so our president can fly to the country. By you saying that he didn't have to use taxpayer money, is that supposed to be a relief for us? Any security-minded person would say this is a national security threat. It can be compromised. Those planes could fall out of the sky and nobody would know, what happened to the plane, what happened to our president. So when we're asking these questions, these are legitimate questions. We shouldn't downplay it, Mr. Kamara. So far, I try to be fair to this president out of respect for his office, but at the same time, let's be fair on the platform and not try to deflect from every little simple, a point that we make, even though they're valid.
No,
when you said Mr. Gayman,
they're coming from mountains, this and that. How you know all that one?
I said I give a caveat. I was giving a show a little levity.
Mr. Gonglo, real quick, are you there?
Yes. Quickly, let me just. I think the point Morris is making.
1 minute before you go, let me ask this question that you can answer both. If the president went abroad to borrow money secretly, how do you fuse that into the accounting system without the world knowing?
Firstly, if you look at how President Bwaga started off, he's not been transparent. Okay, the inauguration money is a fiasco. We're still waiting for the report. We're still waiting for him to take action. So we don't know. He said there will be full accountability. There is no accountability yet. Okay. he said you were going to go audit NSA. Later he backed off. I mean, so you can see that the president has been backing off from transparency initiative, so he can bring the money. I mean, and infuse, and I think he can just use it the way he wants to use it. The country will pay back. But the essential point I want to make is, just to pick on what Morris was saying here. Look at what happened at LPRC. LPRC, do you know that LPRC even took a credit against the PFN law? Look at that. Front page Africa reported that. So this government, LPRC is just an entity within a. So President Baga went out potentially to take money to come and do all of things because his economy is struggling and government checks are bouncing. The evidence is in Liberia Senate. I mean, they reported it, not me. It was live that his check went to the bank and it bounced. That there was no money there to service it. Okay, so it's not me. It is the Liberian government that reported that. So it means there is no money in the country. Your government checks are bouncing. Okay, so but the point I want to make on Morris issue, just to close on this, is APRC, the vice president Kun said he got a free gift from a Ghanaian friend to fly to Ghana. That it was no cost to the Liberian government. There is no free gift. Everybody knows that. Less than 1 month, FPRC has entered into agreement with a Ghanaian oil company to import oil through that company from Ghana. And my information verified is that the Muhammad brother who gave the free check to the vice president, whose son is the deputy managing director for operation at FPRC, is the owner of that oil company.
Hold on, Mr. Gonglo. You're saying John Muhammad brother's son is working at LPRC? Is he a Liberian citizen?
Jeremiah Kun's son.
Oh, okay. I thought you said John Muhammad.
Yeah.
I got you.
He's a deputy managing director for operation. He sent his son.
Okay.
No. So let me be clear on this. John Mahama gave free ride to Jeremiah Kun to Ghana. All of you know about this. It's not in dispute.
His brother is a billionaire businessman, not the former president, but his brother.
Yeah, I say his brother. So he said it was at no cost to Liberia, but there is no free gift. It turned out that very man is behind an oil company. He's a larger shareholder in an oil company that now signed deal with FPRC, where Kun's son is deputy managing director. So you can see the link of the network of corruption already in the government.
Kun biological son or his son by adoption or by name?
My brother, what difference does it make whether that his son by adoption or his son by blood transfer or his son by
son? Because
political son. Okay, there you go. Your political son is not already a son.
No, it is. No, Mr. Morris, it's the connection.
Relationship.
It's the connection.
Like we say,
even if it was his friend. Even if it was his friend.
We have
still a
connection. You remember? We have Begube Jr. You know the relationship between Begube Jr. and the port manager. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Please turn to your partners and share the show. Get involved. I like the comments that are coming. We love the comments. We are publishing the comments. Beautiful comments. And let me say this. To all, there's a backup fan here that feels disenchanted. I feel sorry for you. If you are a backup fan, my brother, my whole house in Barca, they are all Barcelonian fans. I understand. So we have nothing against Barcelona, but today is a special day for Manchester City. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to number 2 here. Mr. Kamal, I will start with you.
I want to chime on this one.
Yeah,
don't on me, please. Let's move ahead.
Let me give you the question. You can chime me on it. Violence break out in Maserati suburb over land dispute. We discussed this a while ago, a couple of years ago, maybe a year or so, a little more than a year. We talk about the land dispute. Go ahead and discuss your retort and then discuss this.
I just want to suggest this to all of us on the platform. Focus on Liberia is a reputable platform. That is why it stands out. We cannot come here to express our feelings and unnecessary opinions on national issues.
Unnecessary opinion.
You understand? Kelabu comes with all these allegations. There's not one day Kelabu ever brings facts. But the interesting thing is that when we're on a discussion, then you take us from the discussion, you carry us to LPRC, to NSA. That's a waste of our time, Kelabu. Let's stay on the topic in discussion or under discussion. Now, with the issue, the thing that happened in Pinsville, Jacobstown, again, I always said on this platform, other platform, that I do not believe in Gregory Coleman. I watched the entire thing that happened yesterday. Now, the land issue, the legality of the land issue, that's a separate issue. We can attack the land commission and other things like that. But to see that group of men will hold the entire Somalia Drive hostage, create checkpoints, run the police station over, police people scatter, everybody ran away. They had to negotiate with a group of angry, I call them mobs, angry mobs. And the police could not continue the situation. They had to use a civilian, call a civilian to go and talk to the boys on their behalf. The boys opened the checkpoints, walked back, and the police resumed their activities. I was like, you make me a police director for operation one day, I will go in Jakarta and things will become. I didn't like what I saw.
Okay. Mr. Eastman, we are talking about Paul Kagame in the making here. In fact,
I hope Black Hair Kamara.
This man would be like Idi Amin. He said you will go into Jakarta and everybody will be squashed. Nobody will be talking. You know what he means?
People
are talking. So when you go there, nobody will be talking. You know what that means, Mr. Eastman. Our land issue, the dispute, the handling of it. What is your take on this?
This is a brewing problem, and they've been trying to find ways to address it. That's the whole reason why the Land Commission was created, so they could address the problem, even though they didn't have judicial or prosecutorial power, but they were created just so they can address this issue. This is going to be a troubling issue in our country. Now, that is one thing, but the fact that we have vigilantes or mobs taking over this city, and the police not able to constrain them, that is even more concerning, because as these things happen, it slowly erodes the authority of the police and the government. So as much as you don't want to overreact and to correct such action, it shouldn't be taken lightly. It should be discouraged. And in a country like ours, where we see a lot of people not aware of the law and not aware of why we have to comply with the law, and we have to restrain that. Right now, even implementing traffic laws is difficult. You saw what happened with the motorcyclists this other day. So we have to get our people to obey laws. Since 1980, that's what compromised the whole legal system in Liberia because of what happened. But now we have to bring it back and reestablish the authority of the police, the authority of the army, and the authority of the government. I don't think we should take this thing lightly. The fact that they block traffic, and the other day again we saw something when they were electing they nominating the Minister of Defense. What do we see? We saw checkpoints set up all around that they will not accept this thing. So power is something you have to be very careful with. It is something that, like money, it is conceived. As long as it's conceived, you have the power by the people, then they will respect it. But when they stop when it no longer feel you have that power, they will start doing things out of the way. So I think the administration has to really bring these things under wraps so that it doesn't be a common occurrence.
Great. Dr. Booty, when I talk about the rule of law, which was one of the pillars of Joseph Boakai, people take it lightly. But when the commander-in-chief cannot obey the law himself, he came into power breaking the rules. He didn't declare his assets as the law required. Nobody in his administration has declared asset as the law required. The man said, when I become president, everybody associated with me will abide and do these things. And now here we are. The lawbreaker cannot enforce the law. Look what's happening in the country. Is this president, you think he can turn this thing around?
Well, no. I think, I try to be consistent with the things I say and positions I hold until maybe Mr. Kamara can give me concrete evidence to sway me otherwise. I've said from the time I started on Point that, look, this president is weak, right? And the word I use is spineless, right? And I'm glad Mr. Eastman made reference to the situation with the army wives, because it was one of the things I was going to use as my example. But it's not just that. It's the fact that if he appoints a minister of education or does something there, people say we'll riot. If you want to appoint someone here, they say, oh, we'll riot. It's not a coincidence, right, that within less than a year of President Boakai being president, that people believe they can test this government, right? And they believe they can get away with it. Now, I'm with Mr. Kamara to some extent. I think the police should have done a better job. They've got their riot gear. They've got all of that. They should have gone in there, because these people, by blocking the roads, they are intimidating other people. They're disturbing the peace. This is a disruption to the public order. And the police job is to make sure that that the order is kept. So they should have gone in there with the riot gears. And if somebody sort of get beaten, beat. If you want to move on the road, beat. Because at the end of the day, this is not how we're supposed to handle things, right? Now, I'll disagree with Mr. Eastman. I do not believe that lawlessness in Liberia started in 1980, right? Way before that, the Congo people were very more lawless than when people power, right? So, they were making decisions and taking things for themselves.
No. Who you call the Congo people? Who you call the Congo people? That's not Congo people.
President Tolbert, Barclay, Gardner, and all of them. Those are all the Congo people. I did not interrupt.
I know you love to incite
Let me make my point. Let me make it not division.
Mr. Eastman, Mr. Eastman,
division, but you have no facts.
Mr. Eastman, let him land, and then you can retort. Go ahead, Doc.
All right, let me give you an example. Liberia is in the Guinness Book of World Record, right? Because we had the most fraudulent elections ever.
It's not substantiated. Not true.
What do you mean it's not substantiated?
You gotta do more research on it, Doc. It's not substantiated.
Elvis,
what do you mean it's not substantiated?
Elvis, let the man talk. Go ahead. It's stuff is in the book. Everybody knows it. Go ahead.
Exactly. When let me answer your question. You asked me a question. Give me a chance to answer. Let me give me a chance to answer. Can you give me a chance to answer the question?
Go ahead.
Are you going to give me a chance to answer the question? I'll give you another example. Now, I don't know the name of the actual president, but I think it was either Barclay or King, one of them, were taking people and sending them as slaves to go and work in Fernando Po or wherever it was. That wasn't lawful.
You don't know your history. I
said King or Barclay, right?
You don't know anything about Liberia.
Mr. Gaming, let me come in now. I think that's a bullet time right now.
Listen, no, time not to right now because I've been interrupted. You gotta give me a chance to land.
But remember, know the facts.
Mr. Eastman.
What do you mean? I said King or Barclay.
Even if he didn't get a name, the Fernando Po thing is a fact. Go ahead, Dr.
Exactly. And I did say King or Barclay. Look, nobody has perfect memory. I can't
It
remember
was King.
everything
It
about
was
that
What do you
King.
like
speech.
about Fernando Poe is a factual thing.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Right? So you can't say that was lawful, right? So there were lawlessness going on before 1980. That's the point I want to make. Even if it was one or two, there were lawlessness going on. It wasn't the coup that made Liberia a lawless country, right? So let's get that fact correct. Now, at the end of the day, the point I'm making here is this president hasn't demonstrated the strength and the authority to lead, and that's why people keep testing him with all these riots and protests. And until he can demonstrate that he has the capacity to be a leader, an effective leader, it will continue to happen in our country. That's my point.
Mr. Gamer, let me come in, please.
Mr. Elvis.
Mr.
Look.
Can I put on to you?
No, yeah, Caleb, I'm coming to you.
No, Colin was coming after me.
Elvis, 1 minute before you go. When you are in Minnesota, right? You have a professional police force. They have.
Please don't take my point away from me, Mr. Gamer.
Go ahead. How do I
Look,
know your point? I can't read.
yeah, you can read my mind. We gotta see Pastor Blood is our look. Let me say this. We're going to get to that topic. It's one of our topics tonight. If we're united people, or if we're unified people, and I think this is just a symbol of the divisiveness in our country and the permeates even in the diaspora. But let me say this, Mr. Gaiman. The exact point you was making, that's the point I was thinking about making. Our unitary system we have in our country is probably our biggest problem. Some people disagree with it. In this country, the reason why the police forces are so effective is not because it's ran by the federal government, but most of these police forces are locally based. Where you have a county police force, sometimes even a city police force and so forth. But the point here is that these police force, they most of the time they raise their own money. If a policeman gave you a ticket for speeding, it doesn't go to the federal government. It goes to the state government, and that police department get a portion of that money. So they have an incentive to write tickets. They have a quota that they have to meet because they're making money for that municipality or for that that county, and that money helps to fund their budget. So in more wealthier counties, you see people in the police department have a lot more tools at their disposal. So in Monrovia, that's why I thought people are being naive by thinking that when they elect President Boyka, by virtue of his election, everything in the country will transform, including the police force. You lack capacity in your police force. You lack manpower. You lack authority and the authority to do the job. And Gregory Coleman is not going to come there and become a dictator. We saw it with Joe Till. We saw it with Paul Malba. He's not going to come there. And that's why I'm disappointed in Mr. Kamara. Hold on now, please. Hold on now. And even Mr. Dr. Booty is echoing a similar sentiment. We say we hit totalitarians, we hit dictators, but we have dictatorial tendencies. Hold on now. Hold on, please. We show dictatorial tendencies. The thing that makes this country great is not because Joe Biden is a strong man. That's not what makes this country great. Hold on now. That's because this country is built on rule of law, and every department of the federal government and even the state government know their functions, and they raise adequate funds to fund those departments to do their job adequately. So it's not about one man coming in and going down. Hold on, please. Hold on, let me finish my train of thought. No, you got to allow me to finish my thought, please. You can't have one man coming in there and using brute force to do the job. You have to have a organized system and a standard operating procedure on how for the police to do their job. So if you think Boyka coming there is going to be like a Charles Taylor or Samuel Doe, who everybody is going to be afraid of, and nobody's going to want to protest because the president is a strong man, he's an authoritarian, and therefore if you do anything against him, he's going to crack down on you. That's not what we're looking for in our country. We want a rule of law to work, but we also want to be a free people and have the freedom of expression to express ourselves and to protest. So please, let us not be spewing authoritarianism on this platform that would need somebody to come and be so strong-handed and iron-fisted that because they're president, everybody should be afraid of them.
Listen,
Police need to be well funded,
Mr.
and they need to
Gonglo,
do their job to protect the
No, no,
lives
no,
and
that
property of
clarifies
citizens.
all the plenty moment
Okay,
don't
30
notice.
seconds. You got 30 seconds. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Kama. You're the only one that can
What
make
did
sense.
you
I'm
say?
going to
What
I
did you
said.
brother? After explaining all that law,
I said we shouldn't praise authoritarianism. That's my point. That's my main
So
point.
what you're telling us is a group of men can get together and block the major streets, restrain other people's right to freedom of movement, hot economic activities, and the police should not move in because they're not dictators. Is that what you're saying?
What started the war?
Go.
It was overreaction by the police, right?
What is that?
The right riot was overreaction.
Mr. Gonglo.
No.
You saw the overreaction, and what happened after that?
Next, guys. Listen, Mr. Gonglo.
You said that's what started the war?
Mr. Gonglo.
When the police overreacted and killed those guys doing the right riot, was that not a catalyst for more actions to be taken?
It wasn't the police.
Mr.
It wasn't the
Elvis.
police. It was army
I'm
officers
listening.
of
I'm
police.
listening.
Guys, I don't want to call anybody microphone.
The shit that you're calling for when it happened, then you'll regret it.
Is Mr. Gonglo there? Okay, let me go to Victor Nambe. Then we'll come to you. You just got here, Mr. Tao, so don't put your hand up. Mr. Nambe, in our dispensation here, we have our.
I thought you were calling my name.
But
It may got a 10-second delay.
Okay, Mr. Gonglo, in our dispensation here, we have a police force that does intelligence. They have community policing. They have the ears on the ground. They can avert these things before it happens. When Mr. Coleman came, those are the things he said he was going to do. We're going to make sure that we avert some of these things before it even happened. And then the next day, people were being killed in King Jaw. And now here I look at things are getting out of hand. Mr. Gonglo, what do you see about this police thing that's going on? The land issue. It's a bigger thing, not just police. We talk about a historical thing, land issue, the mismanagement of the situation, and the people taking matter into their own hands.
Well, guys, on this matter, here is my view. I can't say much about the Jacotown situation because I have zero information on the cause of that or the causes of that crisis yesterday. I saw the different picture, the damage and what have you, but I have not actually taken time to understand what was the cause, okay? But generally, here's what I will say. I think part of the challenge we have in our country is we don't tend to think out of the box. I wouldn't have taken Gregory Coleman back to the police. I would have taken somebody basically new, who has not been within the structure of the police to bring new thinking to policing in Liberia. All of these things we're talking, if you go to the National Police Headquarters, you got Community Policing Department, you got Women and Children Protection Unit, you got all of the structure there, but they are empty shells because I've been there several times, trying to help other people. They have a well-developed crime lab, testing, fingerprinting. They have Omio left all those structure there, because Omio was working with the police to build our capacity, So, but it's not just that. You need a strong leadership or leadership with the vision of a new police, because we're dealing with a new population, dealing with new challenges. So we're not going to bring the guys who have the 1990 or 1980 mindset of policing into the new police structure we want to build in the country. So I wouldn't have carried Gregory Coleman, not even A.B. Kroma. I would have removed these guys because they're banging the system. Let's leave them out. Let's bring new, not necessarily young people. Let's bring people with new thinking on policing. That would be my take on this. Unless we change those guys, we're going to continue to have these things. In Nema the holiday, there were violence there too. You're going to have violence because the guy, they got some rapid response unit in the police. Those boys, their fingers are on the trigger to shoot. I don't know what kind of policing training they're giving them from the academy. But, anywhere they go, they don't even try to convince rioters to even talk to them, to try to get to their leaders. No. They feel they have guns, they have weapons, and they're ready to use. That's my take on that.
Thank you. Mr. Nambe, the riot, land issue, I'm looking at it from the historical context. This is something that goes deeper than just what happened in Monrovia there. I think when President Sally became president, she set up a land commission. I think what the man name is Billington, Musa Billington became a millionaire of that because he was the chair of that, gave me a huge budget to settle the land dispute and all of that. And still we are seeing this. So this is not just about the land in Jacob. This is a bigger issue than we are dealing with here.
Yeah, I quite agree. It's a bigger issue. It's been with us for quite a while. I think it reflects I think the failure in our administration because I don't think a single solution has been found to this problem. So that is not really something that is happening on the Buckeyes watch. First of all, let me register my regrets for joining you guys late. I was in traffic, but it's good to be with you. But I think what the Buckeye government could do, which they're not doing, is the community policing, which everyone is emphasizing here. If you do effective community policing in Liberia, usually when the citizens begin to block the streets, right, to put up barricades, that's because they feel they haven't been heard and they're crying for attention. They want to be heard. So if you do effective community policing, you will sniff out the discontent before it boils over. And I think this is what is not happening. Again, I remember here a few nights ago, even Mr. Kamara here declared a vote of no confidence in the current IG. So I think it's a failure of intelligence. The intelligence is not being gathered properly, or when they do gather the intelligence, they're not disaggregating it efficiently. They're not analyzing the data efficiently, and so usually these things they will spill over. And I think the people have caught on to the weakness of this government in law enforcement. Every now and then they will come and occupy the streets, and they will leave the street at will. So it's a problem that they haven't been able to deal with. I don't know what they intend to do with it. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think this is the last of it we've seen.
Great. Mr. Tao, this thing it goes all the way back. I think Mr. Kamara tried to address this thing here way back. And some of our folks here were very uncomfortable because I am a victim of this land issue. I'll give you a brief scenario. 1999, my own cousin, first cousin, Daniel Chia, when he was defense minister, sent about 200 armed men to Baza in our village, our tribal land, and they passed out notices that if your parents were member of this, you got to bring some deed or something, and nobody showed up because people were scared. And Daniel Chair went and they say he surveyed 1,000 acres, took it to Charles Taylor. Charles Taylor signed it. So all of our indigenous people that were within that 1,000 acre are now subject to Daniel Chair. I went home 2 months ago. My fatherland fall within that, and I had to go to him to survey because he has something now called the mother deed that Charles Taylor gave him. Whether it is legal or not, but this is something huge, and it happened all over the country. It's not just Jacob Town. Jacob Town is just scratching the office. I mean, the surface, Mr. Tower.
Yeah, guys. First, I want to apologize for being here late. I've been traveling all week. Had a basic trip.
Apology not accepted.
Yeah, nice.
So I want to apologize. But look, I was listening to the show actually in when I was traveling, but I just couldn't tune in. But please give me just a minute. Let me touch on some of this stuff. I won't stay long. Mr. Kamara is a guy that was so honest that were able to spark corruption, mismanagement. When I first started here, he would point everything out. But all of these same things are happening now, and he want to have a way to just kind of explain it away, make it to be irrelevant. You see, this is what happened when we start supporting individuals and political parties instead of trying to look out for the interests of the country. Because when you have to start defending people and feel government corrupt institutions, then you start trying to compromise everything that you stood for when you stood against the other guy. So let us try to do better. On another note, look, I've been coming this platform. We all live in the U.S. We are very dishonest when we are discussing the things about Liberia or about Africa. The United States is not a good example to use. The United States really don't have credibility on a lot of the things that you try to use as example. And if you want to use the United States as an example, go across the entire spectrum. Yes, it's true. We want for our president going to Guinea-Bissau anywhere to make an announcement to the country, but our concern should not be who the United States designated to be what. The United States have no credibility on that. The United States on record as a nation that channel drugs. They have it on record themselves. A whole government, the Nicaragua Contra, where all of us know that was the head. They were caught up in it. Reagan was caught up in it. He was jailed. They translated drugs all over through Nigeria, everywhere else, and it was a major congressional issue. So we shouldn't be using them as some kind of that. If the United States say don't speak to this person, then don't speak to why? But the interest of your country, this should be our goal. And then using the United States when we come to the riot, that if the government show up, the police, and if they try to put that on control, then it's dictatorial. The most dictatorial and most brutal police force in the world is in the U.S. You live here. Go ahead and block a road. Go ahead and block any road right now. They will carry in your body bag. They are trained to kill. You are here. We shouldn't laugh. So let us separate this in the United States is not a good example to use. Let us look at, I lived in Liberia. The police need to act. If the police cannot be strong for them to act, the police acting to restore law and order, they will have to use force and they will have to use it. The kids are going around, every little thing, they jump in the street, the black road. This is not about whether the police is weak. Yet we know that the police might not have enough resources, but if you give them resources and you give them all of this stuff, how are they going to do it? The crowd, the population that we see in Liberia came out of the war, and this is how the war was. This is the wartime mentality that is still continuing. So it has to be broken somewhere. So please, we cannot leave these guys in the street to say they cannot be blocking street. We have to have a channel through which things are done. If you're talking about law and order, don't put it on the police, put it on the people. Okay? And when we talk about the land issue, why do we have all this problem in the land issue? We ignore our own land laws, our traditional land laws. We ignore it. We are trying to create a quasi land rules and legal systems and stuff in the country that don't suit us. The land, vast majority of the land are tribal land. Our people never fought over land like this because they have very good rules on which they manage land. That is why the land has always been there. That is why the forests have always been there. We are living it. We are trying to follow somebody else. The whole land authority was set up by the U.S. and their European cousins. The USAID was the one that set up. My cousin worked there. Y'all don't even know why they set it up. They are targeting your land. Why they are telling you, don't use the land, don't do this. I have read all the documents on the land authority. It is a criminal system that is set up that is going to breed continual oppression.
Okay, boss man, it's time too much now.
Okay? So just like that. And then last point before I close, Mr. Eastman, I listened to you. Lawlessness did not start in 1980. This is the Congo attitude that we're talking about. When you said there was no Congo, no, Morris, please don't interrupt me, because it's about attitude. Because you say you want to say there was no Congo, or for you to claim that from 1822 all the way to 1980 that there was some kind of lawful stuff going on. The whole existence of that 133 years was lawless. So if we are going to be honest for us to move forward, we have to be able to admit that. Yes, after 1980, there was lawlessness. We are not doubting that. But our lawlessness, the lawlessness from 1822 to 1980 is what led to the reaction that led to the coup.
Thank you. Now,
Let
this,
me come in 1 minute. Then I come my next specifically.
Just give me a minute, please.
But I thought I were America. Who told us to go to war? Without lawlessness. I thought I were America.
This will segue into our last subject here, which is unification. Mr. Nambi, I want you to take a crack at this, then I go to Mr. Gonglo here.
Yeah.
Unification, we just observed unification the other day.
Yeah.
Some people were saying that the country is divided. Some people don't want to believe it, but our electoral result, the difference between President Walker and Joe, we are at 17,000 after the final count. And yet we do not want to believe that we are divided. Mr. Namwe, you take on this subject because you are the political analyst here, and then I will go to Brother Gonglo. Talk to me.
I will try to be as concise as possible, but I got to speak to some of the points that Mr. Tower raised. First of all, I agree with him. The rule of the Congo people in Liberia have been very lawless. The Congo people have never they don't abide by the rule. That is a fact. It is the Congo people who introduced the expression, "Do you know who I am?" In spite of the law. They were law unto themselves.
You get in trouble with the History Channel.
They will not deny that. And they really lorded over our people for a very long time. And it's very disconcerting when we sit here and try to deny that. They have been very lawless in Liberia. But having said that, let me quickly, Mr. Tao, you talked about, why do we always take examples from the U.S.? The U.S. is not perfect, but on the face of on this earth, they're the first closest we come to perfection in administration. In the fight against corruption, this is why we always use them as an example. It's a glass half full situation. Yeah, they have their flaws, but they do their best. You talk about, for instance, the policing. You will agree that even now there are protests going on the various university campuses. You don't see the police just moving in like that.
Oh yeah.
In New York, it took them almost 2 weeks before they moved in. Right here in Philadelphia, they're still occupying places here. They don't just move here and use force. It is all about community policing. They go in there and talk to the kids and try to reason with them and try to cajole them and easily disperse them. So our people in Liberia, I would not advocate for force to be used in Liberia because too many people have suffered and died needlessly because of the use of force by the police. Our police, most of them are not trained.
Unification answering so.
They are not trained to deal with riots and protests. And that is a problem. I don't think we should put it on the people. But on the question of unification, I think I said on this platform and I said before, I don't believe anymore there is a real Congo and native thing. Right? What we have is a class system. A group of people, when they become rich, they become a class unto themselves. The Congo and the native boys, they become one and the same. There is a great need for us to actually help the situation and deconflict the space. A number of our young people don't understand what it means to be segregated against. But the Congo people, they segregated against the natives for a very long time. They created the separation we have in Liberia. But we want peace, and in order for us to coexist, we have to be at peace. And so we need to find a way to understand where we went wrong. I know a lot of them, they're very upset because of 1980. And yes, 13 people were needlessly put on the poll. Yes, we disagree with that. And so we understand their anger. But let them also reflect on over 100 years that they rule our people. Completely debased our people. Everybody was a boy. Even if you were older than the kid whose clothes you were watching, you were a boy. They've never allowed our people to grow up. So there is a real problem. It doesn't do us any good to try to sweep it under the rug. But unification means what? I forgive you, you forgive me, and we move on. We need to find a way to discuss this. And let us all appreciate one another. That's the only way we will coexist. Great. Thank you. That's what I got to say about that.
Jimmy Eastman, according to the U.S. Library of Congress in 1915, 72 crew chiefs or kings were executed by President Daniel Howard at a peace conference in Sino. So you are talking about the government of Liberia calling the people together for unification, bring all the crew chiefs together under one roof, and they were similarly executed. So when we talk about unification, how should we address this thing without causing trouble?
Yeah, personally, I summarily condemn such action. But do you know Daniel Howard was a Bassa man? Do you know that he was a Bassa man? You know why I mentioned this? Because a lot of people think it's an ethnic divide. It's not ethnic. I'm glad Mr. Nangbe mentioned it. A lot of times it's economic and political. It's not ethnic. Some of the same people who you think are Congo people by ethnic, they are really our native people who have risen to the level of big shot. So when we look at it, if we really examine it, there have been people taking advantage of people who are less fortunate, and that has been going on and again. And a lot of times, it was certain ethnic groups that had the advantage, but it was not solely them. There were things that were being done to our people, even in the interior, selling our people, putting them in grabbing them because they were now of the same tribe, and a lot of things were done. So the idea is, a lot of people like to insinuate that there's an ethnic difference between us, and there's not. I'm a person here of mixed heritage, okay? And nobody can tell me they're more native than me. Yes and nah. See what I mean? But they like to bring this ethnic thing, which is non-existent. It's a social, it's a economic, but it's definite. And I agree with many of what you're saying. It's also a mentality. Some people think they're better than other people, and we have to fight against that. When you talk about unity, we have more in common than we do in our differences.
The question is, what should we do now to remedy the issue? Because it is there, it is palpable.
Right. What we need to do now is emphasize our commonality, the things we have in common. Let's bring them to the forefront. Let's promote things that will mutually benefit us. Okay, and it has to be about values. A lot of what they did before, they took advantage of us because the value system they had was not plural. I mean, it didn't apply. When somebody's supposed to be honest and somebody's supposed to be transparent, that goes all around. Not because you're a big shot or you got some kind of name or Western name, then you get out of, you free to do what you want to do. No, you have to also abide by the moral code. And when we started violating that moral code, when we started treating each other differently, we started being segregation, we started being discriminating. That's when it all went wrong.
Obviously,
we have to treat each other like how we want to be treated, and not discriminate against each other. And that is where it went wrong. And the problem is, I don't want to see us repeating the same thing. A lot of times, they did it before. So they did it before. We're going to repeat the same thing.
Mr.
We have to move on.
Thank you, Mr. Gonglo. Are you there?
Come to me.
Yes,
Not ready.
I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Gonglo.
How does he have a virtual background?
He's a ghost. He's a ghost today. He's a ghost today.
The man afraid of print just him up showing face. Mr. Gonglo, here we are in Liberia. We had the settler society and everybody else, and they came up with their idea of supremacy. And some of us, we grew up into it.
Mr. Gamer, you're choosing the topic.
Excuse me. We grew up into it. We adapted, like Mr. Eastman said. But when you go to Liberia now, when you start enforcing the law, like the policeman beat you, say, "Oh, you bring our Congo attitude here. You bring our Congo mentality here." This is what he's talking about. How do we change the mentality to begin to reconcile our folks so we can actually believe that we are all one?
Okay, so here is what I will say. I think we got slightly disconnected when you're concluding your statement, but I listened to other panelists. My view on unification, just like many of the folks have said, uh, Liberia has been a developed country from its foundation. And there are a lot of unresolved issues in our history. And as a nation, that's not good because previous leaders, successive leaders, have not shown the courage. Leadership is about courage. They're not showing the courage to take the hard decisions. Because of that, many of the issues in our history are unresolved. Okay, and we keep snowballing this issue to the next generation, to the next leadership, to the next government. We don't get to resolve it. Even what we're dealing with today about war and economic.
Mr. Kamara.
Yes, sir.
Here we are. Some people are saying why are we discussing this issue? And I keep telling them, folks, as long as we don't discuss these issues, we'll continue to repeat them. Go ahead.
Okay, so for me, to tell you the truth, we don't have serious division problem in Liberia. I think the intellectual and the quote unquote educated folks are the only ones who keep pounding on the issue of division. You know what I'm saying? If you go inside of Limba County today, for example, there are differences in lingua, but some way, somehow, these people find ways to live together. If you go to Lofa County, for example, that has almost 6 tribes, there's no war between the tribes in Lofa County. If you go inside of Maryland, where there are different dialects of Gribble, there are no war in Maryland. So people just pound on this thing, oh, division, and a lot of you politicians want to use the election. If we use the election would be a good way of telling everyone that we're actually really united. For example, we have about 20 candidates in the race, right? We had about 20 candidates in the race. Look at the election result. What did the people say by their vote? They say, we know there are 20 of you. But because we have a Democratic president, we'll take only 2 of you. They split the vote between 2 individuals almost in half. So they are telling you that they are rather be united than divided. The problem is from us, who when we finish eating our burger, we read some quasi-psychology note on internet, and we come and define what division means based on European standard and what the limitation means. Limitation to this, you can understand. I am from the Mende ethnic group, and in there are a lot of different things there. For example, Mandingo, I look at more than 10 different languages. Division in those aspects will never be eradicated, regardless of what anybody feels. But are they getting along? Are they eating in the same bowl? They sit in the same vehicle? Are they having common goals? That's exactly what's going on in the country. Are we going to see bad boys or bad people come up with bad things? Yeah, but it is not the general censor. Liberia is not as divided as people make it seem.
Okay. Let me go, please. What a patient.
Yeah, be quick. You've been what? You've been a patient?
Yeah, I've been patient on this topic. I haven't had a chance to speak on this topic.
You are not a patient on here. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. Let me say this. The absence of war is not the evidence of peace. And unification and reconciliation are 2 different things. Reconciliation means to repair. In most cases, it's about a relationship, to repair a relationship that has been fractured. Unification means to come together in one accord. But in order to come together in one accord, you must reconcile, especially if we have our civil war, which we haven't fully reconciled from. So when we're talking about division, I think Mr. Kamara respectfully is confusing it with diversity. Diversity is good. A unified people can be diverse, but they can be unified in purpose. They can be unified in identity, in shared identity. Maybe diverse in language, maybe diverse even in skin color, like we have in this country. My point here is that we're not a unified people. And I will give kudos to President Tubman, who had a 6-week retreat, something I learned about on the History Channel, thanks to FOL, and shout out to Madam Call Famula and Mr. Dennis Job for bringing us those programs. I learned a lot of nuggets of history through that channel. But President Tubman knew what happened, from the crew wars, the guerrilla wars, the formation of our country. There was some relationships that needed to be reconciled. He brought a lot of these traditional leaders and chiefs for a 6-week retreat, which is almost 2 months, and made a concerted effort to try to reconcile us so that eventually we will be united and unified as a people. The war came, and all of those, gains that was made, you know, we went back to square one, and we have to be reconciled after our war, which has not happened yet. The War Crime Court will be a step in that direction. And after that, our president, our political leaders have to make a concerted effort to reconcile us and then unite us in one purpose and one identity. Those things have to happen. It's a process, and we have to take the first step. And I think the establishment of the War Crime Court and and subsequent reconciliation processes and efforts, and then ultimately to unify us as one people for one purpose in one nation. These things have to happen. I don't think we should spread divisive rhetoric about what happened in the past and who was there and who did what. I think when we get to that process, we'll lay bare, we'll all cry and be hurt, but then we'll try to heal and unite as one people. That would be my take on that topic.
Dr. Booty, for those of us who are counselors, one of the things, the 3 pillars in counseling: first, you have to identify the issue, you have to accept the issue, and then come up with a plan. And then when you have the plan, then you have to execute the plan. If you have a war crime code, I'm using that as an example because for me, it's the worst analogy I've ever heard here. If you are using the war crime code, you are saying we should begin the process of reconciliation from 1980. Then you are wasting our time because the hurt did not start in 1980. Okay? So you are wasting our time. If you want to do a wholesome reconciliation, we need to sit as a family, go over, like Mr. Eastman said, where did we go wrong? We talk about it and we put something in place. But if you are keen on saying, I kill your mom, your sister, yourself, in 1978, 1979, that one, don't worry about it. But let's just start with this one here. That's where the problem is. Dr. Booty, talk to me.
Thank you. I think, first of all, I would like to address the fact that when I mentioned the atrocities that were committed against Liberians by the American-Liberian elites, it's not an attack on anyone, right? I'm not trying to say that, this group of people are disdain, or we shouldn't talk to them, or they're not part of the establishment, or shouldn't be part of Liberia anymore. That's not my intention. The way my worldview is, look, in order for us to reconcile, like Mr. Morris pointed out, in order for us to buy into a unified goal, we cannot omit our history. Our history is there. Everyone on this platform was born at a certain point, did things that were good, did things that now when they look back, they think, maybe I shouldn't have done that. It does not make you automatically a horrible human being. It doesn't make Liberia a horrible experiment because there were individuals who abused the process. But we cannot not talk about Liberia and not talk about the individuals who abused the process and that they belong to a certain group, right? And because they belong to that group, that's why they take advantage of the situation as it is. Look, Liberia is the divided country. I've spoken about this here on this platform. I've written about it as well in newspapers in Liberia. And I'll be honest with you, if you ask me, how do we resolve our problem? I don't have a clue, right? I absolutely have no clue on how we can resolve the issue.
Like on many things.
But I do. Sorry, I didn't get that, Mr. Kamara.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so basically my thing here is, look, we need to start somewhere, but we need to recognize that there is a division. If we're saying that we are a unified country, then we're missing the point. We're overlooking the issue, because a lot of things that we need to sort out will come from us buying into a common goal. Leaders, and I take Mr. Eastman's point on this. Look, President Boakai, President Weah, President Doe, President Taylor, and maybe President Sirleaf to some extent, have helped to divide the country as well. Because when they came in, they excluded the bulk of Liberians from benefiting from the resources that we have as a country. And once you are excluding people from benefiting from the resources, those people get angry. Those people don't feel part of the process. Those people then disengage with the system that is the Republic of Liberia. So I'm not saying that, look, yes, past 1980, we didn't have issues that contributed to disunity. The entire experiment is a part, is a contributing factor. They're contributing factors throughout history. And we need to attack all of them, address them, where people need to say, look, we're sorry that it happened like that. Say we're sorry it happened like that, and then we can move on. But when issues are raised and then people get defensive about it, then we're not going to make any progress as a country to unify. We have to read the tea leaves. We have to accept that things are not going the way we want it to go as a country. All of us on this platform have one thing in common. We want to see Liberia become a better country. We just have
Unification.
different views and different policy ideas on how we can make it happen. That's where we need to bring those things together. How does my idea align with Mr. Towers? How does Mr. Morris's idea align with Mr. Nangbe, so that Liberia can have a narrow and one kind of directional policy idea that all of us can buy into? I don't think it's just tribal. I think it's policy. I don't think it's just tribal and policy. I think it's access. There's a lot of things that we need to address, but we have to talk about the hard truths. And we will argue, we will shout at each other. By the end of the day, as long as we keep at the back of our mind that we're doing this to better Liberia, we will definitely achieve what we want to achieve.
Great. Mr.
Thank you.
Gonglo, are you back?
He already spoke, huh?
No,
Yeah.
Mr. Bongo haven't spoken. He was in
Go
flag,
to
bro.
the next time. Mr. Gordon, don't hear you.
I'm
Go
back.
ahead, Mr. Gonglo, address the issue real quick.
Okay, so I said much. Let me just conclude. My thesis is that our country has never been united. From the foundation of Liberia, there are a lot of unresolved issues. Others have mentioned about even what happened in Sano, the crew, the Sapo War, and what. So not even just between the settlers and the natives, but even among the natives themselves. We have a lot of unresolved issues. And the reason why we continue to have this is because our leaders have not had the courage to really resolve these issues. Even you take the land issue in Nimba, President Salih's idea was to just throw money at it, whereby money was not really the issue. So that's why the land issue was not resolved, because she didn't have the courage to go sit with the people and say, let me hear how this crisis came about. Her idea was, okay, I can put the people want money. Yeah, everybody wants money, but most of the people who were involved were people who were fighting for heritage. It was not money. Okay? So we don't have, our leaders historically don't have the courage to resolve these issues. So if you look at what is happening today, unless we begin to put people in places that have the courage, we're not going to have this issue resolved. Liberia is going to continue to be a country that is not united. The truth is, a hungry man and the man who is hungry and the man who better for cannot really have peace. It's just a common sense. There's a massive level of poverty in the country. Even those who are working, they are working poor. The salary they take cannot even send their children to good school. I mean, I remember when I went to the Ministry of Labor, I did something that was unexpected. I was talking to staff within the ministry that is a lady in Minnesota and called Vivian Reeves. I encouraged her. She was working in the International Affairs Office. I said, why would you have a master's degree and you said at the Ministry of Labor, you don't even make $200 more? How your children will go to good school? It will be a vicious cycle. So get out, go look for a job with NGO. I will do a recommendation for you. And luckily, they sent a recommendation to me and did it for her. She got a job. That's how she left the ministry. And my idea was, I was an activist on that, telling staff within my office that don't stay with government, because the government salary will make your children to go to bar school and will not get a good education. I was telling them these things. It's just a fact. People go to work, but they are working poor. Liberia is a country where even the labor union is not even strong. So for that, they don't have the bargaining power to even negotiate with employers on wage increase. So there's It's so much problem in Liberia. Is just like a country that is just surviving by luck.
What does that got to
They
do with
let
unification?
that because you got here hungry poor people and people like you are wealthy like your brother they and the hungry people cannot be united. You are running computer school and LTA former commissioner was giving all that thousands and thousands of dollars paying. You got all the document. I'm gonna put it out one day on the show, okay? So that's why
I would love to see it. Yeah.
if you want it for me, I'll give it to you, Amara.
Thank you. Guys, we got 10 minutes left. Mr. Tawo, wrap you up in closing.
So look at what happened here. On this topic, Mr. Morris,
we keep time now because we're running out of time, guys.
Mr. Morris clarified one of the points I was trying to make. We have diversity in Liberia, and it's like that across Africa. That's the most diverse continent in the whole world. Our problem is not our diversity. That diversity, the people still have a form to unite, but the unity aspect is what we have. And then the national identity that Mr. Elvis mentioned, that division came about from the very foundation of the country on how everything was structured. So that continued, and Mr. Gonglo just made a point here, and many other people made it. The problem, in order for us to unite, people have to feel that they belong to the same system. They have to be able to benefit. They have to be able to know that when they lend their support and their energy to this nation, they too stand a chance. If people are excluded, and it's happening throughout, then people, it doesn't matter. A Vi man can be in power or Bassa man. If most of the Bassa people are excluded, they too going to feel something, and they're going to be going after the governments, and the towels are going to be that the governments came in. So is that excluding people? People have to be able to benefit. So first, we have to start from an educational standpoint to have an entire platform on how to bring people together, and then let people know with programs and stuff in place that, hey, everybody's going to benefit. It's open for everybody if you apply yourself, and these are the opportunities, these are the channels, and like that. And the reason it's going to be difficult for us to have national identity, which is the thing around which we can actually unify, is because the concept around which we are trying to govern doesn't suit the whole nation. This is our major problem here. We cannot take a Western or Asian or Arab style from a governing system and political system, bring it to a country where only 3% or 2% tend to understand that halfway, and then try to project it upon the entire country. And we think that we should kind of draw something of national unity from that. It's not possible. I keep making this point here. We have to come back, look at our own country, our culture, built from within there. What is not good, we take it out. What is good from America or China that we see that can be applicable, we include it. And then we'll create a national governing system that reflect our interests and our values. This will be able to bring us together.
Yeah, let me do my closing talk and do my rep on it.
Your rep. You got 1 minute. Go ahead.
Yeah. Look, when I came on the show, when you asked me a certain question, I gave you direct answers. I said it is concerning that the people do not know what the president went, and it's important that he should meet the people where they are. I also spoke about the police, and I said this is our administration. I also spoke about the police and said the police wasn't doing their job, and I had no confidence in the IG. So I don't know where Tao came from and said I was doing something, but let me just say this. Unification. We're mistaking disagreement.
Oh, Kamara, I agree with you. I didn't disagree with you.
We are mistaking disagreement for unification. They're two different things. Just because I'm not happy with the way you did something does not mean we're not united. I can like you, but disagree with you. What we are having in Liberia for the most part is disagreement. There is no actual division. 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 There is no actual between tribal people unless they disagree upon a piece of land. That's this agreement. Holistically, things are not as bad as politicians make it, but we can do better, and I agree with some of the points. Thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you.
What should we eating on the rest?
That man ain't got no rights. That man ain't got no rights. That man
Get some smoke on that right.
Mr. Nabe, your closing, sir.
Yeah, listen, great show, guys. Thank you very much. I like what Dr. Booty said on the question of unification. I think what we really have is lack of access. I absolutely agree with him. I think one of the major contributing factors to the push and pull we have in Liberia is due to lack of access. Too many people are not accessing our nation's resources. We need to find a way so that we can introduce equity. A lot of the people feel completely left out of the national pie, and until we address that, I don't care how much reconciliation or conferences we hold. It's not going to help. I came in. You guys talked about the president's trip. I am very uncomfortable too, due to the lack of transparency around this trip. The president has the right to go out and try to bring in resources to the country, but he is responsible to us. He has to let us know what he's doing. We elected him to represent our interests. He should go out there and do so. Many of you already pointed out here that Guinea-Bissau is on the spectrum of narco nations. You know, the previous government before him saw too many people being sanctioned by the U.S. government because of acts unexplainable, some of it corruption. So yeah, I hope he's not going to lead us down this path as well. You know, a trip like this, I think there should be a readout on there. I agree with those who said the press secretary or the press should accompany him. What is this? What is the hush hush about? Because there is never a free lunch, no matter how you say you look at it. There's always a quid pro quo. So that really concerns me. There are reports that he may not have only gone to Guinea-Bissau. He may have stopped somewhere else. This is yet to be verified. But when you don't explain to the people and you leave the space to conjecture, then we will insinuate whatever comes to mind. We'll use it to explain whatever you're doing, and I don't think that's what they want. So they need to be a little bit more transparent and tell us what it is they're doing. And I think he means well, but it's difficult to tell because they're not telling us. So, and the community policing that we all talked about here, I think the IG, they need to do a better job. There will be lots of protests because of lack of access again. Too many people, are suffering and they're angry. They will find any excuse to come out in the streets, to express their anger. And so we need to find a way to get to them before they get to the streets. So again, thank you very much. Great show. I disagree with Mr. Kamara on his equality. I don't know where he got this from. It's really is. I'm so disappointed. I have a lot of respect for him, but today he is in a respect deficit with me. He has to work out to bring it back to par.
Okay, guys.
Are you kidding me?
Our timekeeper is here.
The
timekeeper is here.
Let me do my closing.
Yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute.
1 minute. Listen, I really enjoyed Mr. Tahoe's closing tonight. He hit it on the nail as far as I'm concerned. Everybody been touching it, but he put a lot together in one ball. Number one, there's nothing wrong with our diversity. It's good to have diversity because if you can leverage your differences to make something new, something unique. Everybody brings different things to the table, different talents, different traits. So diversity is sweet. But what has been the problem is when you leave some people out of the national pie, you take it, they don't have nothing, you take advantage, and it looks as if they feel like they're not included in it. Okay, that is one thing. The other thing is if you're going to have a national symbol, it has to reflect I tell you today, I don't understand why we haven't changed the law of liberty brothers yet. It should have been the law of liberty binding us here a long time ago. Okay, even that flag. What does that flag resemble? I don't know why we don't have the red, gold, and green. That's the colors of Africa. I think these people, whenever you touching these things, some people don't want to touch it. I'm not sure why. But definitely to not make the mistakes of the past is to exclude anybody in the future. That's where I believe the problem started. And if we don't change that, problem will continue. Biodiversity is our strength. That's why I leave it.
I like that, Jimmy. But you keep
I gotta get my closing, Mr.
they
Gilman.
will
Wait, 1
take,
minute now.
the country things
Go
away
ahead.
from you.
Yeah, look, I agree with you, Mr. Eastman. My mind didn't even go there, but now you read it, spark something in it. We've had this conversation before, and some people think it's going to be trampling on the legacy of the pioneers. But we don't have an ethno state. We have a diverse group of people. Nation building is very hard, and that's why I think collectively we have to we have to build a new nation that would be a collective nation, because most of the counties didn't come into fold. When the country was established, it came much later into the establishment of Liberia. So for me, I think forming a nation that is going to be more inclusive of all the different ethnic groups, and represent all of us, unify as one people, have a new identity, new symbol that represent us as a people. It's going to take that, and everybody will know that they had a say in the establishment of this new nation, unlike what happened before. Even though we respect the idea of the settlers, it was noble to form the first black, free republic on the continent, but that was for only a specific, set of people that later incorporated other groups of people. But those people, they didn't have a say in the establishment of the nation. So I think we have a unique opportunity after we reconcile from our war. We can form a new nation that reflects all of us, and I think that would be a great thing. A lot of people disagree with it, but I think I would lean on the side of reforming a new nation with new symbols that represent all of us. That'll be my closing.
Gonglo, real quick, 1 minute. Okay, Gonglo,
Well, this has been a great show. My closing basically is to restate basically some of the things I've said earlier on the show. When people get to leadership, we need to get our leaders to understand that they have a responsibility to we the voters, we the citizens. Because under the social contract, all of us cannot be president. We cannot sit in the executive mansion. So at this point, only Joe Boaga can sit there. So he has to understand that he has a duty, both constitutional, legal, and moral duty to respond to us, to our needs, to our inquiries. So the sooner he recognizes that, and the people working around him, the sooner they recognize that, hey, we are not here, we could not be here if the people have not put us here. So if they say something, they'll be responsive to them. The sooner they do that, the better it will be for the country. We don't have to be on this speculation and what have you, because he made promises. He made promises during the election, and we keeping his feet to uphold his promises. He said he will run a transparent government. The asset recovery is a disaster. FPRC has borrowed money already against the PFN law. FPRC has entered into a contract with a Ghanaian company that the owner gave, the largest shareholder in the oil company gave free jet, that his own vice president, this was a free gift. It's no cost to the Liberian government. Now it turned out that FPRC signed a contract. We don't even know what oil in that contract. Maybe it's a sweet deal they gave the Ghanaian man because he gave a free jet. So a lot of things hanging there. We would like for FPRC to disclose the full content of the contract to the public. I'll stop there.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a great show. Thank you
No
very
deal.
much. I think Mr. Padmo is going to take us out. Mr. Padmo, you're closing.
No, I didn't close.
Oh, you didn't close?
You open your close.
No.
Mr. Booty, close real quick. 1 minute.
Okay. No. Yeah, let me do it quickly. I think when I talk about this unity in Liberia, and when I speak about the influence of previous leaders in Liberia, I'm not speaking on this because I've been a victim of Americo-Liberian rule in Liberia. My granddad was a crewman from Sino County that President Totman posted to Nimba County, and he benefited from the system, and so did his children, and so did I. I know when I reflect on my life that I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now without that unfair advantage that we had. And it's looking at it through that lens that makes me want us to do things differently for our country. That makes me want to make sure that even though I got a lot of things because of my surname, that it shouldn't be like that. It should be fair for everyone. So I'm not attacking anyone. Liberia is a country that is not united because the access was kept to a few privileged people, and some of us benefited from it unfairly. And we need to change that narrative. Whether it be a Kisi man, whether that crew man, whomever is withholding access, we need to deal with that withholding of access, because that's the only way that we can unify our country.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we close, Mr. Patmore, all the talk we've been talking everywhere is the only one that have put forth a legitimate plan to turn things around in Liberia. They are putting together an investment portfolio. Like, no, I'm just saying it.
Getting caught, eh?
I got a small cart. Yeah, so like, I don't know, Berkshire Hathaway, those kind of fun. Okay, that's what they're trying to do, and it's all over the place. They want you to go in there. You don't need $1 million. We are talking about investors, common people. Now you're talking about access. You got to be on the ground floor, Mr. Mr. Patmore, close her out.
Mr. Palmer, can you let me take 5 seconds of your closing, please?
Who talking?
Number here.
Nambe.
No, I don't like Namwe. So
I know you're talking about.
I don't like Namwe. I'll just listen for the name. Namwe. No, I don't like Namwe.
In a better spot because the whole Southeast, everybody from the Southeast, you would never hold power again. So you're done.
Imagine the way we small like they will be ruling you for long. But anyway, that's for another day. So the next are out. That's spin mill. But talking about the investment portfolio, I just want to quickly throw in, and I think we'll have to do a show here. Yola is putting together the diaspora initiative.
Oh,
and we're going to reach out to all Liberians across the length and breadth of this country. We want to be a consortium of professionals that the government can tap into. Within the government can be helped. People who will come into it not because of what they can get out of it, but we're working that out, and I'm directly responsible for that under the Vice President's office. And so we're putting that announcement out there quickly. Thank you for my shameless plug.
Okay, Mr. Patmore.
It's been a great show, gentlemen. Thanks for coming.
Mr. Patmore, can you please tell us real quick what you trying to do here?
Okay, so basically, as you guys know, we send a lot of money to Liberia. We send. It's been documented that we send over $600 million to Liberia every year. I believe it's well over that.
Sure.
Because that is only the documented part. And that if you do the calculations, that tells us that as a diaspora force, we have over $2 billion in disposable income. Because for every $100 you send to Liberia, you can keep at least $200-300 for yourself for your own spending that goes around. And that is a huge
that women can do anything, just anything.
investment.
Working on the street. Okay.
It's a huge thing. So we're trying to put together a sensible group of investors from the diaspora that can actually go and do something meaningful in Liberia that is long sustaining, but has a quick return. So we're not going there for a return that will happen in 7 years. Going for a return that will happen within 14 to 24 months, but it will have a very long projected longevity that we can pass on to our children, and then we can have a seat at the table. You'll hear more of it as we grow, but that's just a little spotlight out there. We don't want to come out. The worst thing you can do is to come out and present something when it's not prepared. Because there are people who have a stake in punching holes in it, and we don't want to do that. So I'll just stop right there. It's been a great Sunday. Thank you guys for coming. Tao putting your hand up. I don't know why. I'm not even gonna look at him.
Even though we don't like each other, I'll reach out to you, Padmo.
Thank you very much, man.
Thanks,
we got another show coming on tonight or no?
Brother, we need to go. Why you want to stay here?
No, I got asked him if we got another show.
The man wife told him not to go home, but you will go home.
I ordered home, Mr. Man. I ordered home, Mr. Man.
And here we go.
We all love you. Liberia is our